So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let's awake a little bit. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Oh, much better. Thank you. So today we are having some small technical issues, but it's being resolved, and the presentation is going to start as soon as the computer decides to wake as well. So, but before we do that, today we have our lovely lunch and learn that Sandra and Joe did for us, stroganoff. So let's keep our mind focused. Oh, chicken stroganoff. And vegetable stroganoff. But let's keep our mind focused on the lecture, please. Don't think on your stomach right now. And we'll start very soon. I have nothing else to talk.
No, go ahead.
How was your weekend?
No.
Yes? Okay. So Joe is going to start with the initial reading and the prayer for us.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Wonderful to see you here on this long weekend, beautiful weekend. I'm glad that you decided to join us and spend a couple of hours with us this morning. So we'll start with a reading from the book Happy Life. It was psychographed by Divaldo Pereira Franco from the Spirit Joana de Angelis. So we're reading 116. You definitely will not solve all of the world's problems. However, you can and should contribute to that goal. If you cannot stop wars from happening, you have the resources to keep disturbing discussions away from you. If you're not able to feed the hungering masses, you still have a crust of bread to offer to someone. If you cannot give health to the sick, you can still assist a patient. If you cannot solve human dramas, you can still help calm a person down. If you do not have the means to lead groups that will accelerate changes that the world needs, change yourself inwardly, ennobling yourself with good actions and solidarity. Raising our thoughts, we thank God, our Creator, our Father, who brought us into existence, who has guided us and given us the resources, the free will, and the divine laws to drive us forward in our evolution. We ask God to help us take these simple words from the reading and give us the strength, the will, and the courage to do even the little changes that we can do that's within our own ability. And let's use the knowledge and the wisdom provided to us by our Master Jesus Christ. Through His lessons, His words, His example, we have a path to move forward in our evolution. And to all of us, imperfect spirits, who move on their existence, trying to be better every day, open our hearts and our minds to the lecture of this morning. And may you inspire our sister Teresa as she gives us good guidance and good inspiration. So be it. You there? No.
So, good morning, everyone. So, there's no PowerPoint today because every single thing that could happen today about this PowerPoint happened today. So, the good news is there was nothing special in my PowerPoint, so really. I was actually going to say I'm sorry for my PowerPoints because they're really boring. Maybe that's why the spirits did it on purpose, like you really don't need them. Okay, but the theme today is the influence of the spirits in our lives. And that's pretty much the chapter 9 of the Spirit's book. And that's also the theme of the month, right? So my slides were very boring because it was literally questions and answers from the book, nothing else than that. Because, first of all, it is the lecture that opens the theme. So I thought it was very important to bring the keys, like the bases, basic concepts that will help us to understand all the lectures from this month, which is actually only 3 because we have 2 weekends that we do not have lectures. So next Sunday we do not have lecture because it's our general meeting, and the Sunday after we also do not have lectures, but we have an amazing symposium with speakers from states. So please do not miss it. Come in. And then we have our 2 last Sundays. We're going to have 2 more lectures on this theme. So I tried to be creative, do something different, and I said, you know what, Kardec and the spirits did it so beautifully that I'm just going to follow what they brought to us and kind of discuss a little bit of those questions that to me bring what's the base of how the spirits influence us on our daily lives, right? So just remember, July 4th, Marco Di Clay is going to be talking about sleep and dreams. And on July 31st, Rafael Oliveira is going to be talking about spiritual obsession. Okay, so those are the other themes that are going to be discussed here. July 31st? Sorry, July 31st. It's
24th. 24th and 31st.
31st. 24th and 31st, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Chapter 9 of the Spirit's book talks about many different aspects of how the spirits can influence us in our daily lives. So it talks about the affection that some spirits can have from us. It talks about guardian angels or the spiritual protectors. It talks about presentiments, pacts, talks about blessings and curses, and many other themes inside that chapter. But I brought 2 main aspects because to me those are the ones that really brings us the basis, the key base of how everything else works. And one's called the concealed influence of spirits on our thoughts and actions, and the possessed. So let's start with the concealed influence of the spirits in our thoughts and actions. So Kardec, and pretty much the Spirit's book, for someone who had read the Spirit's book, the way that the Spirit's book was written was pretty much Kardec would make questions and the Spirits would give answers. And every time you read the Spirit's book and the answer in quotation marks, that is actually the answers the Spirits gave, like literally. And when there's no quotations marks, those are more comments that Kardec did on top of the subject, considering all the other information that he got from the spirits, right? So on the questions 459, 459, Kardec asked them, so do the spirits have influence on our thoughts and actions? And the spirits say their influence, it's actually way bigger than you can actually imagine. And even says, and very frequently, it's they who guide you, right? And the first key that I want to talk about here is he say their influence. It's very big. It's very strong influence. So let's talk about a little bit of what influence means, because to me that's one of the first key thing that we have to think about. So what is to influence someone? So influence someone is indirectly I can kind of guide, or I can kind of give ideas to someone, right? So I can, for example, look at Sandra right now, and I really don't like Sandra sitting here in front, right in front of me. So, but I don't want to say, Sandra, stand up and go to the back, because I don't have this kind of a power. Because Sandra may say, I don't want to go. I'm perfectly comfortable here. So I can just go to Sandra, hey, Sandra, you know what? I think if you really go at the back, you look so much better if you're there. Like, you're going to listen better. You're going to, you know, I really think, and then I keep giving her ideas. And then all of a sudden, Sandra goes, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to get up and I'm going to go at the back, right? Did I make her stand up? Did I tell her to stand up? Did I tell her to the back of the room? No, I didn't. But I influenced her to go there. So in the end, the action and the choice is still Sandra's. I just did the influence. So that's what influence is. Because a lot of times, for us as Spiritists or non-Spiritists, we tend to see this influence from the spirits, good or bad, as if they have the power to make us do things without being our choice. Oh, I did this because someone told me to do it. No, you did that because you chose. People can influence. Discarnated or incarnated, they only can influence us. But at the end, the responsibility for our actions is ours. So we need to have this very, very clear, that regardless if you're talking about our good guides or if you're talking about our less evolved brothers and sisters that are around us, we're talking about only influence. But the final action is ours, always. No matter how much obsessed or how much in control they are, the final action is always our responsibility, because they absolutely have no power to make us do things that we don't want to do it. Okay, so having in mind that what influence is, let's go to the next question. So then Kardec goes, okay, so what are you saying is that on question 460, he says, so we have our own thoughts, and then we have other thoughts inside of us. And then the Spirit says, your soul is a spirit who thinks by itself. So they cannot think for us. They cannot make me think in a way that I don't want to. Okay? So, clear. That's it. We are free spirits. We think for ourselves. No one else can think for us. Okay? He said, however, depending on the situation, you can have many thoughts on your mind, right? And all at the same time, and usually they're contradictory to each other, right? So someone comes and offends me, and I feel like, you know what, I'm just going to pay back. I can't believe they did that to me. And then all of a sudden comes another thought like, oh, but that's not the right thing to do. And then, but then comes, no, but you know what, that's not the first time this person offends me. So maybe this time I should show them. But then it comes the other one and says, yeah, but that's not the right thing to do. You know, maybe I should let it go, right? So see, you have different thoughts in your mind on each situation, and they contradict each other, right? And what the Spirit says to Kardec, because it's a combination of your own thoughts with the influence that you're getting around you, right? So maybe my first thing was to go there and pay back, but then it comes as like, don't do that. Just forgive and let it go. Like, why are you so upset? But then comes the other one and see my mouth. Oh, well, that's the second time this person does with me. I should show them. See? And then Kardec goes a little bit ahead. I love Kardec because he's very curious, and he just goes and say, okay, but if there is all these thoughts, and they're mixed, and some are mine, some are not mine, some are from my good spirit, some are from my less evolved brother and sister who are here trying to disturb me, how do I distinguish them? When do I know what's my thought and what's not my thought? What is my own thinking, and when I'm being influenced by someone? Because that's very important to know, isn't it? To know what's mine and not? No, it's not. It's actually not important. I used to think it was as well. It is actually not. And that's actually the answer that the Spirits give to Kardec on question 461. He says it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to distinguish. He says you should not concern yourselves with such a distinction, as it's often more useful not even to know about it. You act more freely. So basically, what the Spirits are trying to say is, someone offended me, okay, and I really feel like paying back. But because I read the Gospel according to the Spiritist, and I'm trying to better myself, I know that's wrong. Does it really matter if it was my own thought I have to pay back, or someone else is influencing me? A bad thought is a bad thought. It doesn't matter where it comes in from. So instead of wasting my time trying to think, oh, but did I think bad like that? Or was, no, maybe someone just, because I'm so nice. It's just influence. That thought cannot be mine, right? Or vice versa. Oh yeah, I'm such a bad person. I only have bad thoughts. It doesn't matter. What matters is we should stop, analyze the quality of the thought, and regardless where it's coming from, say, you know what? I should not do that. This is not the right thing to do. Yeah, there is one side of me right now that really would like to go and pay back. I'm not going to. I'm going to let it go. So that's what he's saying. It doesn't matter where it's coming from, because a bad thought is always a bad thought. And a good thought is always a good thought. And what he says is, when you don't know where it's coming from, he says you act more freely, because if I don't know where it's coming from, I don't know if it's, let's say I'm thinking about doing something bad to someone just because he did something bad to me. But then I stop, I think, and I said, you know what? Yeah, I do have those thoughts in my mind trying me to pay back, and I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to do it because it's just not the right thing to do. In the end, I'm not going to benefit from it anyways. I'm not doing it. So it's my own choice. It's my own choice. So I decide to look inside of me and say, you know what, those bad thoughts, regardless they're mine or not, I'm going to put them aside, and I'm going to follow my good instincts that tell me to not to do it, because I just don't want to do it. It's not the right thing to do it. So it's my own free will that I'm choosing, right? So the act of deciding, you know, I am not going to follow what my dark side's telling me, it has a way stronger, because then it's my inner transformation. Because either it came from me and I decide to not follow, so I am working on my own vices, or it was an influence from a spirit, and I decided to not listen to it. And when I decide to not listen to it, it is also an inner transformation, because I'm not connecting with them anymore. I'm not vibrating the same level of them anymore. So it really doesn't matter where it's coming from. It matters that I'm working upon it and making better choices. So that's what the Spirit's trying to say. However, of course, there's always the responsibility side. They say when you actually consciously has two thoughts, and it doesn't matter where it's coming from, and I decided I'm going to follow the bad thought, my responsibility is way bigger, because I did conscious. I consciously said, I don't even care if it's coming from me or not, but you know what, that's the right thing to do. I'm gonna pay back, and that's it. It is again my own choice of following something. It's my own conscious, and I will not say, and after it's done, I cannot say, oh, I know, but maybe I did it because I was influenced to do it. No, your actions is yours. So it goes either way in terms of responsibility. And then on the following question, at the bottom of the question, Kardec actually puts a comment that he says, if it was useful for us to be able to distinguish between our own thoughts and those suggested to us, God would have given us the means to do so. And it's true. If it was important, if we needed, then God would give us that capacity, and he didn't, right? And I think that's very wise, because if we could distinguish, we would never be really probably responsible for anything. Because it's, there's this spirit here beside me and he told me to do it. So that's the only reason. They influenced me. Now we don't have this capacity. So now it's up to us to look inside of us and say, what should I change or not? Right? And always remember that even if there is a spirit influencing us, their influence doesn't work unless we vibrate in the same level. Which is what Sandra brought to us last week. I don't know, for the people who watched her lecture, she was talking about the moral of the medium, and how the moral of the medium makes them to connect or vibrate with the good spirits or less evolved spirits. That's the same for everything, right? For our actions and thoughts of the day by day. The way we vibrate, that's who we're connecting with. Incarnated or discarnated, right? Because usually even our friends here, they more or less have the same kind of, ideas and everything with us, right? So it's the same concept. And then Kardec asks a question that I think is very interesting, because we tend to say, oh, no, always follow your first impulse, right? Because they say, oh, if you don't follow your first impulse, always do what your first impulse tells you, because that's always the best one, right? And that's exactly Kardec asks them. He says, sometimes people say that the first impulse is always the best. Is that correct? And then the Spirit says, it can be good or can be bad, because you're going to depend on the moral evolution of whoever is having that first impulse. So if I'm someone who's extremely proud, selfish, I don't care for people around me, I'm angry all the time, if someone steps on my toe, my first impulse is just to punch them back. So is my first impulse the good one? But that's my nature. That is my nature. But if I'm someone who's, very forgiving, and, everything is beautiful for me, and I'm very charitable, I'm not selfish, I'm a little bit more humble, and if someone steps on my toe, or if they offend me, I'm more like, say, maybe they're having a bad day, that's okay, let it go, right? That's my first impulse, because that's my nature, right? So that's exactly what I say, it can be good or bad according to the nature of the incarnated spirit. So it's going to be according to who you are. What kind of vices we have inside of us, what kind of a people we are. So I'm more prone to be a good person. My first impulse is going to be to forgive or to help, or even to ask, hey, are you having a good day? Like, can I help you with something? But if I'm someone more prone to do the bad, my first impulse is going to be bad. So then again, we have to disconnect ourselves from those rules, that we created as a society at the time. Oh, follow your first impulse, follow this, follow that, and start to look at the content. Start to look at the quality of what we're thinking. It doesn't matter if it's my first impulse, second, third, fourth, fifth, what I thought the next day. Look at the quality of what we're thinking. Is that a good way to react? Yes or no? Does it matches the laws of love and charity that Jesus brought to us? If that yes, it doesn't matter if your first impulse, second, third, 10th is great. If it's not good, if it doesn't match his moral values, we need to rethink. Or at least we should rethink. A lot of times we don't, because we follow our instincts, right? I think more than our first impulse, we follow our instincts. We follow who we are. That's basically what it is, right? And then Kardec does a question that it's almost obvious, but I like Kardec because of that, because he asks obvious questions. He doesn't want to leave anything, even a little bit like doubt or anything. He makes sure everything clear. And then he asks, but how can I tell when a thought is suggested by a good spirit or by an evil spirit? Actually, I have an old version to use the word evil spirit. I don't like that word, actually, just for less evolved brother and sister here trying to disturb us a little bit. And then Kardec says, study the matter. Good spirits give only good advice, and it's your responsibility to make the distinction. And that to me is the most important phrase here. It's your responsibility, it's our responsibility to make the distinction. And he says, study the matter. So what's the study the matter he's talking about here? It's just about studying the matter to say, oh, how the spirit, how's the mechanical system, how the spirit can connect with my thoughts and influence me and everything. A little bit, yes. But I think that's the moment where the spirits are really directing us to the gospel. They're directing us to the gospel according to the Spiritism in this case, because we're spirits. Because if I don't have the moral values, if I don't have an understanding of the moral values of what's right and wrong, and that's the moral aspect of the Spiritism that is in the gospel, how am I going to distinct what's good and bad? Maybe for the moral values that I carry on, I think revenge is fine. I really think, eye for an eye. It's in the Old Testament. And if you did anything bad to me, I will do something bad to you. And that's my moral value. And that's what I truly believe that is the right thing to do. So I'm going to act like that. So when the Spirit says study the matter, is study the moral values. Go and learn what Christ brought to us. Go and learn what's really right and what's really wrong. How Jesus expecting me to act. Above all, how God, our Creator, expecting me to act. I'm here to help each other. We're here to kick each other and don't care for each other, right? Because if you don't have those moral values, I'm never going to be able to distinguish a good thought to a bad thought. Because again, if I think eye for an eye is how it should be, the next influence that I get here, yeah, go there and kick it back, I will. And I'm following my instincts, and they are fantastic, because that's what I think is the right thing to do, right? And that's why I think for me, for us as a Spiritist, that there's 5 books. They're the base. I think as a Spiritist, we all should read all of them. But to me, the 2 books that are key for me, if you have no time or if you're not too much into reading, is the Spirit's book and the Gospel according to the Spiritist. And it's not a coincidence that our 2 studies here during the week on Wednesday and Thursdays is the Gospel according to the Spiritist and the Spirit's book, right? It's not a coincidence. And we can add other books, we can stop for the summer, but the Gospel and the Spirit's book is a continuous study. We finish, we restart, we finish, we're restarting, right? And right now we're doing the Gospel on Wednesdays with the Spirit's book, which is on September. It starts right from question 1. So just telling you guys. So someone wants to study the Spirit's book right from the beginning, September, question 1. And on Thursdays, they're doing the Spirit's book with the Genesis, right? And probably when they finish the Spirit's book on Thursday, they're going to restart the Spirit's book and maybe add another book. And we're going to keep going. And when we finish the Gospel again, we're going to restart the Gospel again. We may change the Spirit's book. But those books, they're the 2 key books for us to understand the moral values and how our interaction with the spiritual world happens. So when he says studies the matter, that's what he's telling us. Because without those 2 bases, we're never going to be able to make that distinction. And it is our responsibility. So we should be prepared to do that distinction. Because again, once I act, it is my responsibility. It doesn't matter how many influences I had around me, incarnated or discarnated, because not only the discarnated spirits that influence us, right? Our friends, family, co-workers, they all influence us as well, right? We're not going to be able to do a better choice, but the responsibility at the end of the actions is always ours. Okay. And then Kardec asks a question that says, why the less evolved spirits induce us to do the wrong? Why they come here and induce us to do, things that we should not be doing, to do bad things? And the answer is, it's very easy. They say, they want to make you suffer just like they suffer. So basically, I'm suffering. Does anybody likes to suffer alone? I don't. It's always better if you have a shoulder, someone in the same situation, right? So that's what it is. I'm suffering. I cannot be in the position that you are. And that's what it is. It's jealousy, actually. Because they are in a situation where they're suffering. They're in pain. A lot of times they block. They pretend that they are not in pain. No, I'm fine. I'm doing all those wrong things, but I'm fine. And we see this sometimes in mediumistic meetings when those spirits have the opportunity to talk to us and they say, no, I'm not suffering. I'm spreading all this bad and I'm not suffering. Because they're just lying to themselves, right? They're just trying, like we do sometimes, right? We're not feeling well. It's like, oh, no, I'm great. I'm fantastic, right? They do the same. It's a way of protecting themselves. But because I cannot reach then a little bit of a moral elevation that someone has, because don't think that we're that far from them, because we're not. We're just like a half step maybe above them. They say, hey, I don't want you in the half step above me. I want you down here with me. Because if I cannot do my inner transformation to be there, I don't want you there either. So that's what they do. So in the end, it's out of ignorance at some certain level, right? So it's just out of jealousies. And They see you happy, and they're unhappy, so they say, no, if I cannot be happy, then you cannot be happy either. That's what it is. So in the end, to me, it's almost like childish, right? It's kind of childish, and it's out of ignorance. But if you help them, they'll get there as well, right? If you give them a push and do not sink to their influence, one day they'll learn as well. Like, oh, you know, maybe I should be like this person, right? I try to disturb them, but actually, no, they're good people. Maybe I should do my inner transformation as well, right? And then Kardec does a question that I really like, because we live in a world now that, especially people who have no religious faith and no connection, they always have these questions. But if God exists, why he let wars happen? If God exists, why he let small children die or have cancer, you know? And always questioning God as if he's the one who created all the bad in this world, right? We created, but then we blame on God and say, well, if he exists, he would not let that happen, right? And Kardec does the same thing. He does the same question. He says, why does God permit spirits to incite us to evil? Because he could separate, right? Saying like, yeah, less evolved here, good evolved here, all the good spirits here. And yeah, you chose to be less evolved, that's great, but you're not going to disturb the ones that are being, trying to do something better. But instead, God just let us all mingle together, right? And be here together and influence each other and help each other or disturb each other in this case, right? And what the Spirit says that imperfect spirits are meant as instruments for testing the faith and constancy of individuals in the practice of the good. And it does make sense, because imagine if my life was absolutely perfect, I had absolutely no problems, everybody around me does exactly what I would love them to do. It would be fantastic. Huh? Oh my God, dream come true. Nobody bothers me, nobody does anything bad to me, everybody around me is doing fantastic. Nobody has financial problems, nobody has health problems, nothing. Like, everybody has amazing life. Am I a patient person? I don't know. I never had to practice my patience. Am I a generous person? I don't know. Anybody around me never needed patience, needed help. I don't know. Am I a forgiving person? Have no idea, because nobody does anything wrong to me, so I don't have to forgive them for anything. Do I have to ask for forgiveness? No, because I don't also do anything bad to anybody. So it's very easy to be the super nice person, right? When everything is nice around us and everything is perfect. But when things start to go wrong, and things start to disturb our ways and start to not go in the ways that we want them, when we have to deal with people sick around us, or necessity, or offending us, or influencing us in this case to do the wrong, and a lot of times we do, and now we have to live with the consequence, that's when we're actually going to show if we're patient, if we're forgiven, if we're generous, if we're charitable people, or if I'm selfish, or if I'm a proud person, and everything. Right? Because you have to remember, we're all imperfect spirits here on a planet of expiation still. And that's why God allows us all to be together. People are and they have to remember, we're all on the same planet, so we're all kind of in the same level, with some of us a little bit higher, a little bit lower, and we're all here together to learn each other and to practice with each other our patience, forgiving, charity, generosity, and everything, right? So that's why God allows them to be around us and influences us to test. Okay, you're being very nice. Let me see if you're going to still be nice when you have two spirits connected to you, kind of disturbing your thoughts and asking you to do bad things. Are you going to still say, no, this is not the right thing to do. I don't know why I'm getting those thoughts, but I'm not going to follow them. And I have my faith in God, and I know God, that's not God expects from me, and I'm not going to do it. And no matter how much the feeling comes for me to do it, I'm not going to do it. So it's a way of testing, but it's also a way of growth. Because every time you resist and every time you say, no, that's not what I'm going to do, that's inner transformation. That's us looking inside of ourselves and saying, maybe that's who I am right now, but I don't want to keep being this person, and I'm not going to follow it, and I'm going to do what's the right thing to do. And he says that when bad influences act on you, however, it is you, yourself, who call them out of your desire for evil. And that's key here. It's you, yourself, who call them out. They don't come. We call. Okay? It's not like I'm here sitting, doing nothing, minding my own business, and the Spirit's going like, oh, look at the girl. It's minding her own business. Let me go there and disturb her. No. It's me here sitting, having bad thoughts or bad actions that attracts them. So I call them to me. So the way that I vibrate, the way that I think, the way that I act on my daily life, I'm attracting them. Because that's exactly what it is. I'm vibrating negative. I'm not vibrating, really nice. And then they're passing by and they're like, oh, wait a second, I feel the attraction in here. Because I found someone who vibrates exactly like me, and they say, I found a BFF here. Let me go there and attach to this person. We call them with our desire for evil. So every time we have a bad thought, every time we have a bad action, every time we act out of our selfishness, our pride, our vanity, jealousy, so forth, so on, we calling them, we attracting them to us. Because we always have this impression that it's the other way around, right? I'm here, minding my own business, living my life, and then all of a sudden they come. Let's attack, that's it. And then they come and attach to me. And no, it's not. It is not at all. We call them, okay? And that to me is one of the other key basic concepts that Kardec and the Spirits are bringing to us here on those questions. And they say, little evolved spirits come to help you in evil when you have the will to commit it. So I have to have the will to do it. So I have to have inside me already the desire to do the bad. They just come to help. They're just that extra influence to say, yeah, you're right, do it. Go there and kick the person. Yeah, you're right. That's what they only do. They only influence. But they only can influence if I already have the seed inside of me. So if I already have the ill to do something bad, they're just going to help. Yeah. So, sometimes you talk with someone in your family and all of a sudden the talk becomes a heated argument, and then all of a sudden you're yelling, and that's exactly what they do. You already want to scream, but they're there, start screaming, yelling, go. Like they want this fight to go like to a levels that it's absolutely unbearable. But the desire to argue and to fight was already inside me. They just put that extra gas in the fire. That's what they do. Because if the fire was there, they could throw the gas. There's no fire. Nothing's going to happen, right? So always know that they cannot make us to do anything that we do not want to do it. They cannot make it grow inside of us something that it wasn't already there, right? So they only influence. They do not make us to do stuff, okay? And he says, however, we cannot help you in evil except when you actually desire to indulge in it. And that's it is. They cannot help us to do anything wrong unless we want to indulge in it, unless we really want to do it. Because we have the power to say, no, I am not going to do it. That's not the right thing to do, right? And because not everything is bad, okay? So it says, however, there will also be others who will try to influence you for good. And this re-equalizes the balance, leaving you as master of yourself. So what he's saying is that for every single time that I have an influence for a less evolved spirit trying to influence me to do something bad, we will always have a good spirit beside us saying, don't do this. And we know that because we always have those contradictory thoughts in our minds. We always have. No, I shouldn't. No, I'll do it. But then it's up to us. So they equalize the thoughts. So now you have good influence and you have bad influence. When you equalize, then it's up to me. Which one do I want to follow? And then it's going to depend on my own nature, or how much I'm willing to change my nature or not. So which one I'm going to follow, right? And usually in the heat of the moment, not a good choice we make. Usually, most of the time, because then we let our true selves out, and our true selves is not the greatest, or not as great as we like to know. So, and that's what we always say is, you should always come down, think twice. If you see a fight starting, go walk away, walk first, bring up something, and then you can talk again. Because anything that we do in the heat of the moment, especially when things start to get out of control, we most likely do not follow the good influence. But they're always there, okay? There's not a single moment where we get an influence from our lower evolved brothers and sisters that we're not going to have a superior spirit there with us, helping us and giving us good devices, okay? So we're never alone. Especially because I think if they were not, if there's no this equality, would be doomed, because with the way that our inner nature it is right now, we would sink all the time to the bad influence. So we have this always this good and bad with us, and then again, responsibility is ours to find what's the right thing to do, right? The actions is always our responsibility. And that's what Kardec then makes another comment and say, it is thus that God leaves to our own conscience the choice of the course we must follow and the freedom to yield to either of the opposing influences acting on us. So that's the free will, right? So God gives a free will to look at what's happening, look at our own thoughts, look inside of ourselves, and make up our own choices. That's the free will that Jesus talked about to us. But always remember that there is a law of action and reaction, right? We have the free will to do whatever we wanted to do with our lives to a certain extent, but there's consequences as well. So we have to be prepared for that. And good thoughts and good actions always bring good things to our lives, and that's beautiful because we're in control. And if you want to have a positive life, it's up to us to create it. Easy, right? It's easy, simple, right? Great, fantastic. And then he asks, can people avoid the influence of spirits, that incite them to do the bad things? And he goes, yes, of course we can. He says, because they only attach themselves to those who solicit them with their desires or attract them with their thoughts. So like he said before, right? He's saying we are the ones who call them. So if I'm the one who called them, I can cut the connection. I can just cut the call. I say, I know I called you before, but really, we're done here with the conversation. You can go. So the same way that we have this power through our thoughts and actions to connect them to us, automatically, it's obvious. If I change my thoughts and my actions and make them to be more positive, I automatically disconnect from them, because they come and say, we're not vibrating here the same. There's no connection with this person. I'm going to leave. There's nothing here for me. I'm going to go, right? And so in the end, the power is within us, and only within us, actually, right? And then Kardec does a question that, again, it's almost like asking the same question, but in a different way, and says, do spirits who influence is repelled by individuals, will finally give up on their attempts? So if there's a spirit here trying to disturb someone, and this person is not answering and not answering, and it tries to give me all those bad thoughts, and I'm not following any of them, are they going to eventually give up? And they say, the spirits even say, what else could they do? Right? It says when they have nothing to do, like they're trying here trying, nothing's happening. They get bored. They're like, oh, I'm gonna go find someone else who will vibrate more like me because this is not fun. I'm not getting anything here. So it's obvious they're gonna leave. They have nothing else to do. However, he says, there's always a however. Yeah, that's the problem with the Spirit. There's always that however. And they're like, oh, that was going so nice. It was fun. It was easy. And it's like, no. He says, they attentively watch for a favorable moment as the cat attentively watches the mouse. So we have to watch and pray. Remember that phrase, watch and pray? So always be conscious and watch our thoughts and actions. Because this is like that stomach pain that I have because I have bad eating habits. And then it really, really hurts. And then we go to the doctor and he says, oh, you have to eat, you have to cut this and this from your diet, you take this medication. And then we follow everything. So we change our way of being, our way of eating. And then once the pain goes away and everything, and I finish eating all my medications, it's like, oh, you know, but I really love all the food I was eating. And then I go back and the problem comes back. So having good thoughts and good actions is a way of living forever as immortal spirits, because they watch, okay, yeah, I really was able to do much here with you, but I'll be watching. The next selfish thought that you have, or the next angry moment that you have, I'll come back. It's like, oh, wait a second, I've just found an open door here. I'm back. And if it's not that one, it's another one, because remember, there's not just one. Just tons of them, right? So if it's not the one, another's like, oh, wait. That person's really nice, but I found an open door here. Oh, this person's really nice, but the vanity, I think I can work on that side of this person. So they're around, they're watching. They'll go away, but they'll watch. So to me, preparing this lecture, the thing of watch and pray, it was never so strong in my mind as when I was preparing this lecture, because we need to do this all the time and really be careful. So make changes that hopefully are going to be like strong changes that will really stick with us, and not temporary changes when it's comfortable for me, or just temporary to solve my problem and then I go back to living my life the way I used to live, because then we're never going to do our inner transformation. And he says, how can we neutralize this influence from the spirits, and say, guard yourself against listening to the suggestions of spirits who excite evil thoughts in your mind. Those who incite discord and arouse in you the evil passions. Above all, distrust spirits who flatter your pride, for they are attacking you at your weakest point, like Sandra brought to us last week. So you have to be very careful. Just watching. Listen to the thoughts and really analyze the quality of those thoughts, and let's try to make our inner transformation. That's the best recipe to avoid their influence and to keep them away. I'm going to just quickly talk about now the possessed, right? Because especially in the Spiritist house, people love this. Oh, I'm possessed, I think, you know. And so they ask, can a spirit temporarily take over the corporeal envelope of a living person? In other words, can it enter an inanimated body and replace the spirit incarnated in it? No, it can't. So the spirits are very clear. You cannot. Like, we're not like a house that someone opens the door and goes inside. You cannot have two spirits inside of the same body, right? But we have to say thank you very much for the movie industry, who really brought this to us, this impression that the spirit's inside of us, for the Exorcist, you know, The Shining, Poltergeist, that's the no, they can't. There's only one spirit inside your body, and it's your own, okay? The only thing that it can be is to be very close to us and influence us through our thoughts. And if you want to understand them, Medium's book will teach you how that connection happens. But it cannot go inside our bodies, okay? And that's why Kardec really brings the concept of possession is, and I personally, I don't even like the word possession. I prefer the word subjugated, because in the end that's what it is. Because historically this word possessed is connected with this idea of being inside of us. So Kardec clears this, saying there's no such a thing. There's no such a thing, the demons that come to possess you and take you inside, because we know as spirits the concept of demons doesn't even exist anyways. So it says, when we talk about the expression possessed, we should only understand it to mean the absolute dependence of a soul in relation to the imperfect spirit who has subjugated it. So that's what it is. Possessed just means I let the spirit that's beside me really take control and influence me to do my act. Influence, because it's my choice. It's my choice to be subjugated, because I could have blocked and I didn't, but probably I vibrate in the same level and I'm liking this connection. Final action is still ours, right? But sometimes we just let them take over, and I just follow what they tell me to do as a choice. Always remember this, okay? We cannot blame on them for our actions. And then he asks, can people repel themselves, such evil spirits, and free themselves from their domination? He says, you can always rid yourself of any burden when you have a firm will. So it is, the power is within us to make the change, to do not connect to them, right? It's our actions and thoughts that connect. We call them, remember? So we can disconnect to that call. The power is within and on us, okay? And then Kardec goes a little bit further and he goes, okay, but couldn't be that someone is obsessed or possessed or subjugated to a point that they don't even notice, and now they need maybe a third person to come and say, hey, I think you're being subjugated. Maybe, I should take you to the Spiritist center that I go, and I'll help you. We're going to get this spirit away from you. And what they say is that, yeah, you could have some people helping, but he says, this third person will be completely powerless if the one who is subjugated does not cooperate. After all, there are persons who take delight in a dependence that satisfies their tastes and desires. So basically what he's saying is that if I don't have the desire to change my way of living, if I don't have a desire to change my way of thought, changing my negative thoughts, my negative actions, there's nothing that a third person can do at all. Because the power to get rid of them is within us. It's us with our own actions again and thoughts that can either connect to them or not. Yeah, maybe going to a Spiritist center, having your passes, understanding how this process maybe will help me to make better choices, and maybe, now I understand that I'm the one who has to maybe think in a different way, look for more positive stuff in my life. But I have to look for those things. So anybody around us, even the knowledge that Kardec brings to us can be a guide, but it will not transform ourselves. The transformation is ours. We are the ones who have to transform ourselves and do better choice, so we can disconnect from them and at the same time connect with the good spirits, because the more we vibrate good, we vibrate good thoughts, good actions, the more we connect to our good spirits that are here beside us, because now we're vibrating with them and not with the less evolved spirits, right? And then on question 479, they ask, is a prayer an effective means of curing obsession? And that's the last question that I bring, because I think that's very, very important, because it says, prayer is a powerful aid in everything. It's just not for possession, it's not from just influence, it's for anything. Prayer, it's what connects us to God, our Creator. It's what connects us with Jesus. It's what makes us vibrate in a higher level that will actually keep those spirits away. However, again, of course, this is the Kardec's books. He says, but you must realize that it's insufficient to simply mutter a few words to obtain what you desire. So I can come here and pray and really pray with my heart, but if my actions on the day by day and my thoughts are still the same, then we're asking for a little bit too much, right? He says, God helps those who act, not those who limit themselves merely to asking. Therefore, obsessed persons must do their part in order to destroy in themselves the cause that attracts evil spirits. Is within us the power to attract the good spirits or our less evolved spirits. And I think that's the beauty, right? It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's within us. We have the power. We don't depend on anyone else, right? Although we help each other, we're here all together because we cannot do this alone, but that inner transformation is within us. We have the power. And I think God was very generous when He gave us that power to change ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa. So keeping in mind the creepiness that they are watching us until we have our first slippery, and they will get connected to our bad thoughts. Let's elevate our thoughts every day, every second.
So tired.
Yeah, I know, right? So anyone have any question, any comment? Anyone online?
No, I think everybody wants to eat.
No, we don't. No? Okay, thank you very much, Teresa. So we have our passes. Now let's just keep our minds and our thoughts elevated.